Welcome to CQ Blind Hams, your source for everything amateur related, tutorials, radio reviews, and so much more. Come on in and stay a while.
Welcome everyone to CQ Blind Hams Roundtable and Podcast. And today I've got my co-host with me, Julian. Good morning, Julian.
Good morning.
My name is Joel. My call sign is W0CAS, and Julian's call sign for everybody.
N1CA, November 1, Charlie Alpha.
All right. That means you're an extra class, I believe.
Certainly am.
All right. And that's good. We have several extra class operators that help us out on the podcast. We got Chris Miller, NE5 Lima, Victor, NE5V, Bob, K8LR. We've got several extras, and that's what this channel is about, training, helping out blind amateur radio operators learn to do what we do by ourselves. And today, Julian's going to help me out. I'm a new ClearNode owner. I got it last Friday, unboxed it, plugged it in, and started talking. I was within 5 minutes of getting it out of the box. I was talking with Gina over in the UK, and that just that's a compliment to Gerry and over at the Node Ventures of what kind of product he puts out. I mean, that's free advertisement because I've got a Shari node and I love my Shari node, but the ClearNode, something out of the box, you can't beat it. Is that what you've come up with, Julian?
Yeah, absolutely. When I was looking to get into AllStar, I asked a lot of questions, and quickly it became clear to me that the ClearNode was the way to go in terms of something that was quick and easy, pretty much plug and play. I didn't have to learn a whole lot going into it, but it's nice that if I want to get more involved in it, I can, or eventually I can, venture to other types of nodes that are a little bit more tinkery friendly. So, but the ClearNode's a great way to start. What I really like about the process is that as soon as you buy it, he sends you an email and he gives you a questionnaire to fill out. And these are all the little, and you can put these in yourself or change them later in the app, which, by the way, is available on both iOS and Android and fully accessible with each platform screen reader. So he really made sure that we're able to use this product even if you have no vision to do so. So it's great. But he asks you all these questions, and if you want him to put these all in there for you, he can, so that literally when you take that node out of the box, you plug it in, it's ready to go. You know, if you've given him your Wi-Fi credentials, all your AllStar credentials that you need to put in there, you literally just take it out of the box, you plug it in, let it boot up for a few minutes. The first time around, you may have to wait maybe even as long as 15 minutes before it's all up and running, because there's a lot of registration with servers that has to go on behind the scenes. But once it's done, it's good to go. One very good tip that I will give you right off the bat, because I learned this myself the hard way, is that he gives you this little stubby antenna. And some people don't even realize it's an antenna because of A, where it's placed, and B, just how it looks. It's stuck to the power cord, the power supply that you use to power the thing. And it's taped on there, and you look at it and you say, what is this thing? But then if you feel around the bottom, you'll feel that it has an SMA connector on there. So it's this little stubby antenna that in theory sounds great because you think, it's a little low power node. I don't need to be heard all over the place. But the problem is that does not radiate RF as efficiently. It keeps it too close to the electronics in that node, and you get this beep in there with you. And it was very discouraging to me when I first plugged it in, because I'm hearing this on everybody. It's like, wait, I just paid all this money for this node and I have to hear this. So I got on the air and said, hey guys, is it normal for my node to be sounding like this? And several people, I think Joel, you were one of the people who were involved in that conversation and set me straight right off the bat. Get rid of that stubby thing and put an HT antenna or anything you got there whose connector will fit that node. Put it on there and it'll get better. And sure enough, it did. So,
yeah, unfortunately, with the GD77, we get an extra antenna in the box. We get a long antenna that you need to get, some distance, a little gain with it. Well, that's the antenna I used to put on my ClearNode when I got it right out of the box. I wanted to hear how bad it was first. So I did crank it up and try to communicate with it. And y'all see what Julian found out. That's not a good antenna, but Gerry sends one out So you'll have an antenna until you get a good antenna.
And in all fairness, there are some people that use it and don't have that problem. So it might have to do also where you place the node. But I think to me, and again, this goes back to what you learn when you're studying to be a ham, is that you want to get that signal radiated as efficiently as possible so you don't have to run as high power. So that is always something that's stuck with me. So I always try to find a way to get the signal out efficiently with as little power as possible. So it just makes sense to me that you want to put a little bit longer of an antenna on the thing. So I now also use the radio the extra one that came with the GD77, and it just works great.
It does. And I've heard, I don't know if it was Gerry or ClearNode that sends out a ferrite bead or is it ferrite core that they send out to wrap around the power cord. But I did that also. I had a great big one. It was bigger than my thumb. And so I took the power cord, the micro USB power cord, and wrapped it through twice and plugged it in. And sometimes they say that you get a little RF on that off that power cord that can radiate into your antenna. So I did that also, and it sounds pretty good, except for I have a little audio issue that I was going to see if Julian can help me with. And my receive audio is too hot. It's a little too hot, and I've been told that my transmit audio is a little low. So I've got my app up. That's another great thing that ClearNode does. It provides an iPhone app and an Android app to be able to make settings from the application, so you don't have to SSH into the Raspberry Pi and make settings. So, Julian, where do I go to find my audio settings?
Okay, so you want to be open the app. You want to be on the page that has all the stats about your node, what you're connected to, what the IP addresses and all this stuff. So
I double tap on my node number?
Yes.
Okay.
And then if you want to make this easy, just scroll your screen up a few times, because this is what you're looking for is toward the bottom.
Okay. I'm at AllStar setup. Is it up or down?
Let me see. Yeah. So
adjust
try
USB
flicking
audio gain?
Yeah, that's the one. Adjust USB audio gain. So you want to open that one.
From VoIP to VoIP.
So from VoIP means what's being sent to your radio. So if you find that that's
set at 200, yeah.
Okay, so you want to go ahead and take that down to 100. And the way that you do it is right when you flick past where it says the number, you'll notice that you have a decrement or increment buttons. So you want to hit the decrement button a few times. And then flick back to check to see what it's set to. You want to maybe bring that down to 100. That's where I have mine set.
190. Okay, so I want to go down a little lower.
Do it a few times. Yeah, I think every time you do it, it brings it down by 10.
Is it increment or decrement? It's decrement.
Decrement, yeah, because you're going down. So think of DEC like decrease.
So I go 150 maybe?
I would take it down to 100. That's where I have mine set.
Okay.
And I also use the GD77. And to me, that it sounds pretty good there. And if you find that it's too low, you can always go back in here and raise it. No problem.
Okay. I'm at 100 on from VoIP. So
now
two VoIPs.
Two VoIPs, the next one that you want to find. So you want to
350. So
it's set to 350. And you're saying that, you think that your transmit audio is too soft?
Yeah, compared to my Gerry, they say the audio is a lot softer, a little low. Yeah,
well,
I've heard that from more than two people.
I'll have to talk to you on the air. I want to hear this for myself, because I find
I'll leave it there now that I know where to find it.
In general, I think 350 is way too hot for most cases, and I know that there are fans out there of the loud booming audio, but we have to keep a few things in mind. Number one, we're not working pile-ups on 20 meters here. We're talking on clear FM. We're talking most likely to a node that's within feet of where we're located, and it's all going over the internet. That there should be no noise that you're having to try to get over. But by leaving it that high, you're actually in some cases bringing in noise with you, because that's making the microphone, it's making it hear things. I kid you not. I can hear oftentimes what people are watching on TV and the conversations that are going on in the background, completely unrelated to the QSO that the person is having. So I'm a big proponent of, you want clean sounding audio. The goal is to be heard and understood by the people who you are talking to on the radio on the other side of this thing, who are more than likely themselves also listening to you on a little speaker that's not the best quality speaker. So it's not going to catch all this bass and treble and all this, nuanced voices. You just want clean audio. So I find that when your audio is too hot, more often than not, you're bringing in noise with you, which it defeats, it hurts the conversation. So for me, I recommend bringing that setting to at least 200 or maybe even less, depending. Okay. Also, some people have a louder voice. Some people talk closer to the radio. One thing you might want to do on your GD77, go into the FM mic gain. And if you have it set at 0, which is what the default is, turn it to 5. That's what I did with mine. And that may very well help your situation.
Does that vary by channel? And that may be the problem. Is the mic gain on the GD77 by channel, or is it overall mic gain for the whole radio?
I believe it's overall, but I know that they've also added some stuff now where you can make changes that apply specifically to channels. But I think if you have it set to master on anything like that, it means that it's whatever the master setting for the radio is. Oh, okay. Another tip that you might want to check is on your analog channel, did you set it for 25 kilohertz, 25 kc wide, or do you have it set at 12.5? Because if you have it set at 12.5, that's narrower, and that will also lower the volume.
That makes sense. I'll check that out in my code plug. Okay. All right. Let me lower this. 2 VoIP. We're going from.
Well, for right now, I would say leave your. Yeah. So 2 VoIP, I think for right now, I would leave yours as it is because you want to diagnose this low audio problem you're having. So do the other things I suggested first. And if you're still getting low audio reports, then I guess your situation's a little unique. But most of the time, 350 is way too hot. I recommend at the very least, at minimum, at least 200. And I think you'll get rid of a lot of that background noise. One thing I'll also add is if you're going to want to play with the Dmr bridging capability that's now available in the ClearNode, you also don't want to have your 2 VoIP too hot because that's just going to distort on the other end. I did a lot of testing with this when it came out, and that is why I ultimately lowered my mic gain level significantly because I kept being told it was way too hot on the Dmr side. So for me, 100 seemed to satisfy that, and it didn't seem to hurt my transmit audio too badly on the analog side.
Yeah, I'm not I know it's available a lot, and for somebody that's just coming into the digital analog side of with DMR, if ClearNode or Hotspot is your two choices, I would go with a ClearNode. That way you wouldn't have to have a hotspot. So you could get to DMR through the ClearNode, but I've got 3 hotspots. So I probably won't use the ClearNode as a digital bridge. So I'm not going to worry too much about the digital bridge. But for a new person that's just getting into all this stuff, it would make sense for them to buy 2 hotspot and a ClearNode. I would just recommend a ClearNode and then maybe work on the digital bridge and getting through DMR that way, wouldn't you? Or would you?
Yeah, I would say so. But if you're like me and you started out with DMR and that's how you discovered things like the blind hams bridge, one of the reasons why I ultimately got curious about AllStar is because of the difference in audio that I would hear. A lot of the guys that I would talk to there were on AllStar, and I'm listening on DMR, and a lot of it sounded kind of distorted, a little funny sound. It just didn't sound that same crisp, clear DMR sound that you get when you're talking to somebody natively who's also on DMR. So just remember that if you started out that way, when you're doing this, going back the other way in a sense, you're going to sound to the other person like the AllStar guys sounded to you when you were listening first on DMR. So to me, it's a neat little toy. I'm glad they put it in there because if all else fails and you only can take one node with you and you want to do an occasional DMR contact, it'll get the job done. But if you're serious about talking on DMR regularly, it really makes much more sense to use a hotspot that's native to the mode that you want to work.
Yeah, it does. And that's what I said. I've got 3 hotspots. I got an OpenSpot 2 and I got 2 homebrew Raspberry Pi 3 hotspots that I built. And that's probably you're going to use the best audio in your toolbox. So I probably won't mess with the ClearNode unless I'm out in California. Now ClearNode's all I've got. I need to get on a DMR talk group. Then we'll do something like that. But I like the AllStar sound. I really do. I've probably talked on DMR 2 times in the last 3 months. So there you go. And when everybody started going to AllStar, I started saying, it's quiet. It's really, I can't hardly understand why everybody's so excited about ClearNodes and Shari nodes. I was on DMR, and like you said, it's different when it translates over from analog to digital. So I'm sure, like you said, when you translate the other way, that you lose, there's some loss in translation. So I couldn't believe it when I changed over to AllStar, how good it was. I started telling Russ, I said, Russ, this stuff is so clear. It's clear anyway. So now he's got a Shari node. And this morning he told me, you're right. Listen to Enoch and understanding everything, how clear he was. That's worth it.
Enoch is a great example. And hey, Enoch, shout out to you, and not trying to pick on you here, but Enoch has a very unique tone to his voice that whenever he comes across a digital mode, he sounds like an auto-tuned robot. Like, you notice that he'll talk like this, and then occasionally it sounds like this, and then eventually goes back to this tone. It's like, when the first time I heard him on AllStar, it's like, wow, so that's what he really sounds like. Exactly. And I've had the fortune to be able to talk to Enoch on the phone, so I kind of got a hint that when he went AllStar, everybody was going to really, really enjoy talking to him. And not that we didn't, but it's different. It's a different story when you talk to somebody on AllStar. It's just different people hear different things. And for me, when I hear audio anomalies, try as I may, I get distracted by them. And it's hard now to focus on the anomaly versus what's being said. So for me, I take that with me. I just assume everybody else has the same issue. So I try my best to make sure that I'm putting out the best audio I can put out. So, it's very good to hear guys like that, a nice, clear AllStar where you could focus in on their words and not audio anomalies.
Exactly. Well, are there any other quick and easy settings you think I might need to adjust?
There's a lot of stuff you can do with this node. You can have it speak to you a lot or a little. Some people like to turn on that auto sky weather thing, which is handy. Look, if you don't have a weather radio available, or you don't have a smartphone that can give you this information, or a smartwatch, then it might be a nice thing to have, where you can have it tell you the weather. I think you control the interval of that. And of course, you can have it give you severe weather warning. So, it's all useful. But for me, I found it annoying because, remember, this is a simplex node. It's a one-way conversation. Either it's transmitting or you're transmitting. They can't happen both at once. So if you have your node speaking a lot of things to you, inevitably it's going to want to do it, especially if you're monitoring a busy conversation and you want to join into it. Inevitably, it's going to grab whatever break it can to try to get that information in the time that you set it to do so. So depending on how long the weather alert is, you may have to wait a while before you can get into a conversation or check into a net or something, because your node's too busy chattering away. So I myself, I turned all that off. I think I have my telemetry, which telemetry is the thing that tells you what nodes you're connected to and have connected to what you're connected to. And you'll quickly find, if you leave that on fully, that it's going to, again, be chattering a lot, especially if you're monitoring something busy like blind hams or the East Coast reflector or the wind system or something like that. That's always got people going in and out of there. So it makes it very difficult to jump in on something when your node's too busy chattering all the time. So I set mine to minimum. So basically when I connect to something, I think within like the first minute, it's going to read me all that stuff, but then it's going to stop talking after that. So it's a personal preference thing. You can have it talk as much or as little. It should serve your needs. But for me, I got the thing to talk and to be involved in ham radio. I have other devices that give me the weather and all that other stuff.
Right. That makes sense. where is the verbosity level? Do I need to save this right here? I'm sure now, doesn't it?
If you made a change, then yes, you will need to save that.
We'll check. Save audio sys operation.
So I think where you're going to want to go to is AllStar Node Setup to find some of this other stuff.
AllStar Node Setup.
Yeah. So you want to go back to your main screen and.
Well, when I hit that save, I said send the info.
Oh yeah,
then the node number's gone. It's rebooting, I guess.
It's rebooting. Yeah. Every time you do a major change like that, it's going to reboot your node. That's normal. So expect that.
Yeah, my node says empty list. Now it's back.
Yeah. So you want to open that list again, and then you want to go toward those things on the bottom of the screen and find the AllStar Node Setup. Yeah, it is here, and you can. There's a telemetry section. You can have it speak your IP address when it boots up, and some
AllStar
people find
setup?
that.
Is that AllStar? Okay, AllStar setup. Okay, I just want to check it.
So
AllStar identity, node number, password, IAXRPT password. I got to set that. That's going to be the next podcast. I hope you can set IAXRPT.
I love IAXRPT, and I learned a few things by going through the setup process. And there are some JAWS scripts, so tune in for that information. If you're a JAWS user and you tried to use IAXRPT and have a little bit of a hard time, one of our users, Frank KN6GAA, was nice enough to write a simple JAWS script that when you install it, it just has JAWS put focus on the screen where it's supposed to. It makes it much easier to use that app. So I'm looking forward to doing that episode.
Oh, great. It's great. So what am I looking for?
So you want to look for the telemetry section, I think.
Report stats, auto connect, going on down.
You're getting there.
Telemetry, double tap telemetry.
No. It's that's the heading. So keep swiping past that and you'll hear all these different choices.
Say IP at dupe.
Yeah. So some people find that handy because
enable courtesy tones. What's that?
Yes. That's where when the thing you're listening to unkeys, by default you hear like this bump tone.
Oh, okay.
Some people like those, some people don't. So that's where you control it. Also, when you key your radio and your transmission was successfully sent through the network, you'll hear a different tone. It's like a beep boop.
Yeah, is that enable link unkey tone? Is that what that is?
I believe so.
Oh, okay. I want to enable courtesy tone. Oh,
yes. Yeah, you want courtesy tone enabled and that link tone, unkey tone.
Well, hold on. Select it. Okay.
Yeah. And then the next thing refers to duplex, which I don't know why that's in there because this is a simplex device, but maybe someday he's going to make a ClearNode that supports duplex, which I'll definitely buy if he does that because I'd love to.
Yeah, I see that. Enable. Yeah. Do you think that needs to be enabled if you got IA?
No. I wouldn't even touch that. Leave that alone. Okay. So voice telemetry.
Voice telemetry. There you go.
So you have several choices. You can have it off completely.
It's on. It's
on completely, which means that every time somebody connects or disconnects.
That's what it said.
Yeah. So you limited is kind of like the best of both worlds, if you will, because some people just want to know this stuff right when they go into a node, who's there or what's connecting or what. So you want that, but after about a minute, it stops doing that.
Right. Okay.
And then there's telemetry volume, so you can control how loud.
Yeah, I want voice telemetry. No, okay, no. You know my call sign. It identifies with CW. My Shari identifies with voice. Where's that turned on, or is it?
It is turned on. I don't know that you can turn that off in these ClearNodes via the app anyway.
Right.
There, of course, are ways to SSH in there and do that, but that's a whole different thing. I want to learn about, but I don't think that via the app you can turn that off because I guess technically to be legal, you're supposed to, if you have a transmitter going, it's supposed to identify itself every 10 minutes.
Okay, I got weather options. Zip.
There you go.
Weather. What's zip for weather?
Zip code.
Oh.
That's where you put in your local zip code, and that's how it's going to give you all your local weather information.
Okay.
Or any other zip codes weather information that you
want. Enable auto sky
at boot, which means that means that right when it boots up, it enables that auto sky and connects and gives you all weather alerts and things like that if there are any.
Okay. I'll play with that later now that I know where it's at. See, play Auto Sky every MS.
Yeah, so you can get in there and make it. This is what you were talking about. If you want weather reports in a certain interval, that's where you would go to set that.
Well, anything else down through here that you can think of that anybody on the listen might be curious about?
No, I think right off the bat. Oh, one very important thing. Become familiar with either using the disconnect function in your app or the numbers *76, because there are two. You can actually control your node via touchstones. You don't always have to use the app. It's very convenient and easy to use the app. And the advantage is you don't have to wait for a break in a conversation to then hit your touchstones and hope that you get through before somebody else transmits. Or maybe you don't want to interrupt somebody's QSO, which sometimes it is a little annoying. You're trying to have a conversation or you're trying to run a net, and inevitably somebody wants to control their AllStar node. And I mean, if you have no other way, then you have no other way. But I think if you have an app, I think out of courtesy, it's best to try to use your app, because you can do all this stuff via the app and you don't have to disrupt somebody's conversation or net. But *76 is your friend. Anytime you're going to leave the node that you are on and go to another node, you always want to *76 disconnect from the one that you're on, because some people don't realize that the way AllStar works,
they're connected to the last one, and then you pile them up.
Yeah. That little box is a bridge. Think of it, if those of you who use landline phones, remember three-way calling? It's that same kind of thing. It's like instead of putting the receiver down, you instead click the switch hook or hit the flash button momentarily, and now you get another dial tone, and effectively you're making another call. And then when the call is made, the two are bridged together automatically. So that could be very problematic if you are, say, listening to blind hams and decide, yeah, let me go to the East Coast Reflector, or let me go to the Wind System or the Alaska Net or something. If you do that, you're going to bridge two very busy systems together, and it's going to cause all kinds of havoc. It happens a lot with the new users to AllStar.
Yes, it's happened to blind hams several times. We wonder why we're hearing the Cowabunga net, and what is the Cowabunga net? It's just basically somebody just forgot to disconnect.
Yeah, absolutely. So you always want to *76 before going to another node. Some people on their GD77s use the DTMF memories. And what they'll do is, Bob talked about this before, where he puts a *76 followed by a *3, and then the node number he wants to connect to. So he does that all as an automated thing. So that's one way to do it. But if you're doing it manually, always remember *76
is your friend.
Or in the app, you put focus on where it says the node that you're connected to. And if you're on the iPhone, by flicking up or down, you'll hear options, one of which is disconnect, and you double tap, and then you want to check and make sure it says, disconnected, and that it shows your node now as idle. On Android, it's a little different. So make note here for Android users to do this. The way that you do it on Android is you put focus on the node number that you're connected to, just like you did on iOS. But instead of flicking up or down, what you're going to do is you are going to double tap and hold the screen momentarily, and you'll feel a tap or maybe hear a sound, and a menu will pop up, and one of the options is to disconnect. So then you focus on disconnect, you then double tap it, and again, you make sure it says your node is idle before you go connecting to something else.
They also have a favorites list on this app, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't used it because I did Bob's advice, and I created a set of DTMF in my GD77 code plug, so I can hit the pound or the SK2 and the pound button on the GD77. I can go up and down through my favorites, basically my node favorites were the blind hams is one, and then I've got local repeater in Knoxville's one. East Coast Reflector, I got, all the big popular ones. I've got 7 or 8.
Yeah.
So then when I do that, then I hit the enter button, or the green key as some people call it. It automatically disconnects with the *76 and then hits *3, which means connect to the node of your choice. And so I haven't even used my app for that, but I'm glad to know that I can disconnect from the app without disturbing anybody, I guess. They wouldn't even know about it, right?
Right. The only people who will hear are people who have their telemetry fully on. They'll hear something.
Oh,
but it's not as disruptive as these touch zones, because you hear it, sometimes it takes a few times to get that to work right. And meanwhile, two people are trying to have a conversation, or somebody's trying to run a net, and in some cases, the way some bridges like blind hams work, it'll knock a DMR signal right off or prevent it from being heard, because it seems that the AllStar kind of talks over everything else. So whenever possible, I say, if you have the app, use the app for disconnecting or doing this kind of stuff, because it's just less disruptive to the people who are actually using the system.
Good tip. Well, you got any other tips or tricks for the ClearNode user, the new ClearNode user? That's what I'm going to name this: tips and tricks for the new ClearNode user.
Yeah, perfect. I can't think of anything offhand. Just have fun with it. Enjoy it. Don't be afraid of it, and remember that *76 is your friend. That's one of the most important things I can impart.
Yeah, that's a good advice right there. Well, I am going to make an announcement. I'm going to be taking a few weeks off. And if you notice, it's been about 3 weeks since our last podcast. I want to try to take off a few weeks. My wife and I are designing and going to be building our own house. So believe it or not, that takes up more time than you would realize. So if I could beg Julian, if he has any ideas or would like to do a podcast, we're going to let Julian and Angelo, thank Angelo for engineering our show. It's very simple. If you'd like to take one or two, and Angelo will set it up and record it, then I'll do the uploads for the podcast on YouTube. And all you basically have to do is, like you're doing now, just show up and have a good topic and maybe have a guest or two.
Yeah, what the heck? It'll be fun.
All right. Sounds good. Now I want to give a little channel update. I was curious about how we are doing as far as the channel, the YouTube, and the podcast. And I looked, and we're at, and now this is a low number for YouTube channels, but for us, I think it's amazing. We're at 120 subscribers, and we're at, it's 120 subscribers for the podcast. We're at 201 subscribers for the YouTube channel. And I think that's pretty good for a little blind radio channel, amateur radio channel. Here's the key, the one that kind of get us. YouTube has had 10,500 views of our shows. That's a lot. I don't know how we did that, but 10,500. And I can't remember how many views the podcast has had or listens, but it's up in the 4,000 range. So thank you guys so much for listening to our nonsense. Hopefully you'll get something out of it. And with Julian and Bob and all our other co-hosts and Angelo's help, hopefully we can provide content that'll make it interesting to make you want to keep listening. So I'll say 7-3, everybody, and good hamming. I'll talk to you later. Got that, Angelo?